mine includes John Waterhouse. I know that he's on board. That's it. Thanks, Norman. So it is. He still has about 30 seconds. Thank you. They're lining up. They're lining up. Before we even get started, they're lining up. Has money to demonstrate. It's all about money. Money is only a tool and it's never about money. People who think it's about money are missing the boat completely. It's never about money. Money's a tool, money's an effect. But this line is all about the stories about the money. As an effect of the shift in consciousness. Still looking for John. Nancy, is John outside? I haven't seen him. That's what I thought. Because I'm about to start. I'm about to start. In the old days, that was something. I always manifest what I want. So welcome, welcome, welcome to the 6th class of the annual Summer Prosperity Series, A Pathway, The Path to Wealth. The Path to Wealth.
You know, I think she was there.
Thank you. I can't tell if I just started this or if I paused it. Make sure this is on for me. Because I have so much other things to do. How many people have been jumping this week? Yay! We are jumping for joy. Because joy is creative and moving our body creates more energy, allows that to flow through us. Because I think, but I'm not completely sure that we're ready. So I have to check with you and ask, are you ready? Yes! Are you ready to have money just show up from every which place? Yes! Are you ready to have people give you money? Yes! Are you ready to have things go through? Yes! Are you ready to have more money than you know what to do with? Yes! Are you ready to go where you want to go? Yes! Buy what you want to buy? Yes! Do what you want to do? Yes! Be who you are meant to be? Yes! Get up out of your chair. Let's do a 2-hour treatment for increased income together aloud. I know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. And now, because truth known always demonstrates instantly, we have people already lined up to tell their stories, to drop off their 10% tithe, and to let us know how money has manifested in their lives. Let's use the money.
Okay, Mike. So, many of you don't know who I am. My name is Nina.
Don't get it.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah.
See if the lights
My
are
name is
still on.
Nina, and I'm known as the Oracle of Asheville, and I have been a licensed practitioner. Put my license on hold to try to get my head straight, and in this class I got my head straight. And a former client of mine, being the Oracle of Asheville, called me up and said, I want to book you for a month. Here's $400.
Okay. Ooh, this is a sensitive little guy. Anyway, I was advised by a very good friend of a dietary supplement that I should probably be taking. Not only do I feel like I feel wonderful after 3 days on it, it was $10 less than I thought it would be.
Yay.
Test. Let's use the mic. Test.
Let's try the mic, okay? So, last week when we were here, I was really scared that I don't have money to tithe, and I feel very, very sad. Margaret told me that this will be different. So I took my last $7 and it's not working. I took my last $7, really the last money I had, and I threw it in the basket. And I said, there is no more faith than giving 100% what you have, maybe for 2 more days for food. So next day, I get a phone call, and I get a contract, an open-ended contract for freelancing, which was absolutely unexpected. The next day, which was Wednesday, my ex-workplace called me and they said they deleting my $5,600 loan from them. I don't have to pay it back. The next day, that's your fun. The next day, I painted a paint for a lady a week ago, soul painting, and she paid for that. And the next day she said, I love that painting so much, I can't even tell you, I give you another $100 for that. So it's worth that $7, isn't it?
I was on one of my quests and I was inspired to go to this business and tie $1 to it. I went, got some crazy looks because I said all I want to do is give a hug and $1. So I did so, and I was asked what was my email address and all that good stuff, and I left those things. Well, this week I got in the mail for that $1 now, I got a $50 little gift certificate for Ingles. And I was told that I inspired that person.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Katie, and I'm not a member of this community. I'm actually a member of another community.
Yeah.
A better football community. Anyways, I got a check in the mail for $3,557.
Okay, I'm gonna try to make this short-ish. So a couple weeks ago, my boss, I work with autistic people, and my boss, not through my primary job, through this other job I have, the dad came home and said, we love the way you work with our daughter so much that I want to review you so that I can give you a raise. Awesome. So the next week, I came to him and I was like, can we go ahead and have that review so that I can get my raise? And he was like, yeah, we can do that whenever, but I put the raise in, thanks. I put the raise in like
2 weeks ago, so you already have the raise. And I said, and I had been affirming, and I was like, $1 an hour, $1 an hour. And then I was like, it could be 50 cents, but $1 or more. And it ended up being $1.50. And that's a job that I've already decided in a couple months they're opening a group home, and I'm going to go full time with them. So now, when I go full time with them, that will be more money than I've ever made at my primary job before. And so when he and I sat down to do the review, he had us do this like strengths inventory, and ideation was my #1 strength, which is coming up with really good ideas. And he said, what do I need to do so that you will tell me the ideas that you have? Because every time I see you working with our daughter, you're always doing really creative things that nobody else is doing. And I was like, oh, blah, 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 you know, whatever. He's like, I know. I'll give a $100 bonus every month to the person that comes up with the best idea. So hopefully I'll be getting $100 extra a month for that. And then I just got a brand new phone for Barbara, which is awesome because I really needed one. And I got a gift certificate to Mellow Mushroom for $28 or $30, something like that. And I got paid $250 to pet sit for the family that I work for the most hours a week. So while they were at the beach, I got to lay around their house and make as much money as I would make taking their daughter out all day.
Friday, Thursday, Sherry gave me some hints on a better CSO letter, and then so I wrote a real powerful CSO letter Friday morning, and then the whole day I was saying prosperity treatment just over and over again. And Friday evening, when I came out of my apartment, I found $20 at the foot of my stairwell. It was $20 with a stick on top of it.
And I had mentioned a few months ago to my family that there were some sessions that I was interested in taking, and I mentioned what the cost of it was, and last week, a couple weeks ago, no, last week, they just gave me the money. Gave me the money, took $1,400, and I got it yesterday.
Hi, so I'm very excited because I've been trying to sell my patio umbrella all summer, and out of the blue, the CSO provided me with someone to actually come and buy it for $15. I was very excited. And then I filled out a survey and then found out afterwards that I was one of 400 people that got a $5 gift card to Starbucks. Yay! And then I got a dime in the YMCA parking lot.
And I'm sorry, but this is not going to be short.
Don't be sorry, just be clear.
I will be clear. This is not going to be short. Most of you know of the journey that I have been on. It all started when Barbara presented us with the Freedom Treatment. And I am now free because I sold my house and I sold my stuff. And now I'm going on the road. I'm going to take a road trip. So big question was what to do with my dog. Would I take my dog or not take my dog? And I finally decided not to. And I have an excellent dog sitter that just loves my Lily. And I was talking to her because it's going to be a long time. It's going to be at least 2 months, maybe longer. And she said, oh, don't worry, I'll just charge you half the price. It's like, thank you.
So then I was thinking about my trip and posting on Facebook and writing a journal and taking some pictures, and I decided I needed a selfie stick. You know, everybody needs a selfie stick, right? So I know there are a dozen places you can go buy it, but I went to Amazon instead, and there were a gazillion. So I decided I would do what I normally do, and I went to Selfie Stick Reviews, and I found somebody who did a really good review, and I chose one, which he said was normally $20, but there's a little Amazon button that said it was $18. So I clicked on that, and lo and behold, it wasn't $18, it was $16.99 plus Prime shipping. So I reread everything and decided to buy it, and when I went to checkout, it was $16.99, but then it said promotion, minus $6. I got it for $10.99, which I thought was great. So my trip is going to go like up to Maine and all the way over. I'm actually going to end up in LA visiting my son and his family, and the problem with visiting them is they don't have room for me to sleep there. So I always have to stay at the hotel, which is 2 blocks away, and I never complain to them about the cost, but I sure do complain to everybody else. Because you go visit your grandkids and you have to buy a plane ticket, you have to pay for a hotel, blah, blah, blah. So in planning this trip, I emailed him, when are you going to be available? Because once I get to that side of the country, I'm going to Phoenix, actually. And so he emailed back and told me when they weren't available, and I could come any other time. So he said, and Marissa and I will pay for 4 nights at the hotel. I was like, hooray! All right, so this is the best story. I have been writing every day to the CSO, and almost every day I write about my new Mac Pro computer in the gold finish, and it goes so fast, and no more spinning rainbows, and it's just such a joy to use. And every once in a while, I can tell you exactly where. There's a spot right here. It's right there, and it shoots right through my brain, and it says, I wonder where I'm going to get the money to pay for that. Duh. Don't need money, do we? So, hold that thought. I have a sister in Phoenix who's 5 years older, and she and I were born in Kansas City. And she has some, I don't understand, romantic, fantasy, emotional attachment to Kansas City. Now, she's had a small stroke a couple of years ago, and her short-term memory is horrible, and so on and so on. But she was bugging me. She was telling me how much she wanted to go. And she wanted her husband, Gary, to take her, and I think I'm rolling my eyes thinking that's the last thing Gary wants to do. So I got an email from him, and it said, would you like to meet Judy in Kansas City? I'll pay your way. So I called him, and I said, you know, I'm taking this trip, and I'm going to be in Northwest Arkansas. I'm going to go visit Maggie Hill, and it's a 5 hour straight shot up to Kansas City. How about you put her on the plane, I'll pick her up, I'll take her to all her old haunts, anything she wants to see, anything she wants to do. I'll reminisce, I'll cry, I'll laugh, I'll eat as many Frosties at Winstead's as she needs to eat, but I will do that for her, because I figure this is probably her last time to be able to do it. He was so excited, and I think part of his excitement was that he didn't have to do it. So he said to me, well, okay, now while you're there, Janine, don't worry, because Judy will pay for everything. She'll pay for the hotel, she'll fill up your car, she'll do all of it, she'll buy all the food, don't worry about it. Anything you need while you're there. So as he said that, my eyes went right down to my very old computer. And I said, even if I need a new computer while I'm in Kansas City, joking, asking for what I want. And he played silly, you know, I can't hear you, you're breaking up. But finally we discussed computers. He's very computer illiterate. He couldn't figure out how I was getting his emails since his idea of computer is one that you have to plug into the wall. Since I don't have a wall anymore, I plug it in. So anyway, I tried to get him straightened out, but he was very confused. So at the very end, he said, so what's something like that cost? And I said, well, it's an Apple, so about $1,500. And he said, I think we can do that. So
When are you leaving?
Saturday.
So is this the last class that you're going to be in?
Yes, it is. But I wanted to emphasize that that came from my CSO letter.
Hi, I'm Susan. So I was driving down Swannanoa River Road the other day, and my car, my old car, I still have my old car, all of a sudden, it felt like a giant hand was on my steering wheel, and my steering just froze. That was it, it froze. And my first thought was no thought, there's just no thought here. And then I just looked around me, and on straight Swannanoa River Road, there was an indentation in the road right there. And I was able, on the juice of my car, still moving, to somehow move that wheel a little bit. And I went into the space that was large enough for maybe 10 cars. And what I want to talk about today is my shift in consciousness. That I was just so clear. It wasn't the words, oh, it's all good and everything is good and everything will be fine. I mean, it was all good and it was fine. And when I left my house, I noticed that I had very little battery on my phone, and I didn't have a phone charger in the car that worked anymore. And I thought, oh, like, who needs your phone all the time? Well, you need your phone all the time. I do. Well, I thought, how much juice do I have? What am I going to do with this? Well, I called my son, and he immediately went online. I told him the battery light is on, the steering wheel is frozen. He came back, that's your serpentine something, your tensioner, rod, whatever. Okay, and he said, remember they told you you needed to fix that, which I didn't want to because I wanted to sell the car. Okay. And then he said, you need to get towed. And I called Geico, and I said, I have very little juice. He said, okay, we won't talk much. Where are you? Well, there's nothing on Swannanoa River Road except abandoned warehouses. And I looked across the road, and there's a giant sign on an abandoned warehouse that says 48 Swannanoa River Road. I said, oh, I know where I am. 48 Swannanoa River Road. And he said, okay, I will text you about the tow company that will come for you. And it'll be about 45 minutes. And in 20 minutes, somebody was there. They were there. And he was delightful, and he put my car up on the thing. And I had called my mechanic, because my mechanic is about half price for everything from Geico. And she wasn't there, the receptionist. She was out on the road doing chores, and she couldn't give me a price, and she didn't know when she would get the part. And I said, okay, I have no choice. I'm bringing my car in anyway. And then as we started out, I thought, but I do have a choice. That's my poor, save a buck kind of thinking. And I'm not that person. I mean, I'm a rich person, and I have confidence, and I had such a knowing that I have all the money I need, I do, and I know that money will come in, and I don't have to do things, because it went in my mind, if I bring my car there, my son just sold his car. I have no way of getting out. I have to rent a car. How am I going to rent a car? I don't have a car. I'm going to have to get a cab, go to the rental car, I'm going to go back. I have a wedding on Saturday. What if the parts aren't there? I'm going to have to rent a car.
Stop.
Exactly. So I said to the guy, there's a change of plans. Bring this car to Nissan. And I called Nissan, and she said, bring it in at 4:30. It was like 10 after 4. And I knew they had a shuttle. But it was just that knowing, like, you are a rich person, act like a rich person. And they quoted me $385, and then when I went to check out, it was this, she threw in a discount, and I had points from I don't know what, it came to be $310.
Well, unexpectedly, wow, I never expected that. I did receive a bonus from my job and for $2,200. Yeah. It was very exciting, so that is my prize for this week.
Yay!
And I held on to my check because I've been waiting how many weeks to give this check?
5.
5 weeks. So the bonus came in on Friday. And so
So I had a unexpected booking at my, for my vacation rental today, so an extra $330.
So I decided I would take a few more students, and I was guided to draw out a very neat schedule, put it all on paper, and circle the spaces I wanted to fill. So I did all that and went, you know, taking it. Well, before I even got the paper drawn, I picked up a student who's been hovering in the background, but he finally got moved and settled, and he's coming in for 90 minutes a week. And then a woman called me in Biltmore Lake and said, I'd like you to come and teach my daughter, and I think I have a group of them in the neighborhood for you. And before that, Music Academy of Asheville called and said, please come and teach for us. But so far, the schedule's not working out, so it's like watching it fall into place, where the really right students, you know, that are looking for me. And then I have a person who is kind of a mix of a friend and distant relative who had to take a distribution from their, you know, stash of cash and gifted me with $4,000. I got to check, I don't have the cash yet, so. Wonderful.
It was quite interesting yesterday that John's message was on the points of power, because that is where my story comes from. In my letters to the CSO and asking for guidance about some issues, it came to me, the final one, keep your agreements. It doesn't matter if the other side doesn't keep their agreements, and you keep your agreements. So I asked for guidance and was prompted to go to the bank and talk to the branch manager. She got out her calculator, She goes, we can do this. So I kept my agreement. I have with my husband, and now it just happened that week I was on John's prayer list. So when everything was coming together and asking for guidance, and my prayer was, if this is not the correct path, then please shut it down and let's just go somewhere else. But I went to the first closing and got a moment that things were, the agreement was not what I thought it was less. So I got okay, that's great. So then I went to the second one and got another, that was less than what it was. So after everything was settled, I had unexpected income, and I now have a beautiful rental property, and I have kept my agreement.
What can we do when we have demonstrations? When we share that inner value chairs, we are celebrating demonstrations. Well, come on, darling. This class is hot.
Y'all are crazy. Yes, indeed, I am in good company. Golly, it's good to be back. Obviously, you guys have been doing your work. Okay, so, got it? Yay. There you go. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. I don't have my notes. I won't know where we're going. But I have notes, so here we go. So this is week 6. You have been doing this process of these 7 steps. You've been reading along and following this. How many people have read the whole book? Fantastic. How many people are reading it for the second time? Excellent, good, good, good. So it's starting to get in. I find that when I read something once, I get some of it, but I don't get it all. I go do it again, and I see things I didn't see the first time. And, or I will highlight things, and then when I get to them again, I know they're important and they really catch my attention. And I don't miss them that time, and I really get into it. So that's been my experience with this book as well. And so now that we've gone through and had the 7 steps, I want to see how you're doing. So that's where I want us to go tonight, or to at least begin tonight, is talk about these 7 steps that Mae McCarthy has laid out for us. Obviously, the one that gets everybody's attention is writing your CSO letter. But there are 6 other steps, so the question is, how are you doing? So we start with step number 1. Step number 1. That's about being inspired, right? That's about actually receiving something. That's a great way to start the day, as you get up and you read something inspiring. I asked you all to use the book as your inspiration, and that's fine and that's great, but we got 1 more week of this, and then the idea is you've been doing this long enough and you're clear enough about it that you continue the process. You may or may not want to keep reading that book. You may want to have it close by to refer to, but you may not want it to be your everyday inspiration. So I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about or get some ideas about what else you could read to get the kind of inspiration you're looking for. So who has an idea on that? Yes?
Science of Mind magazine.
The Science of Mind magazine, that's a great idea. There's some great articles in there. Yeah, they're short articles, so for the most part you can do it. You could also read the daily guides. There's a daily guide for every single day in there, right? What you got, Sandy?
Wallace Wattles Getting Rich.
Read Wallace Wattles, the Science of Getting Rich. Yes.
I'm reading now the Michael Beckler.
You're reading the
Life Visioning.
Life Visioning by Michael Beckler.
Yes.
Great, fantastic. April.
65?
Yeah, that's a great one. Sure, that's Ernest Holmes quotes, one for every day of the year. Yes?
There's a Chicken Soup for the Soul that's all positive. It's like positive living or positive thinking.
Stories, Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah. But it's all, the title is like positive thinking.
Positive Thinking, Chicken Soup for the Soul. Great, what you got? Tigerizing. That sounds intriguing. Let's figure out what that is. Who wrote that? Mark Nebo? Okay, great. Lynn, what do you got?
Anything by Florence Scovel Shinn.
Yeah, Barbara's into Shinn right now. That's very cool. Yes, Susan?
Basic Ideas.
Basic Ideas of Science of Mind. Fantastic. Anything Edwin Gaines ever wrote. Absolutely. Yes?
I've been actually listening to the audio. It's a free download. I did put it on the Facebook page for the Game of Life and how to play it.
Very nice.
So I actually listened to it.
Well, that's an interesting thought. She says read it, but listening to it would do the same thing if you sat in a quiet place and you just let whoever recorded that Shinn's book, The Game of Life, what a great way to receive that.
Yeah, and also I just do it at the end of the day as well. It's just a wonderful way
Nice.
to walk into a dream.
Very nice, very nice. Who's over here? Nancy.
Stuart Wow, Affirmations.
Okay, Affirmations by Stuart Weil.
5 Steps to Freedom.
Okay, you can read that book. That might.
The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol is good.
Okay, The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. So there's lots of things to read. There's lots of material, and we've added to it the idea that audio tapes could be the same experience for you if that works for you. One thing I would say, though, that would really add to an experience of doing audio is to actually take notes while you were listening, because that would reinforce what you're hearing. I really subscribe to that idea that what we hear, we forget. What we see, we remember, and what we do, we understand. So if you were actually listening and writing down the key points, you would be doing something that would help you understand it. So take that, if you're going to do it with audios, that's great. Anything else about this first step of doing this work? Is that working for people to begin their day? I mean, I have to get my coffee before I do it. I drink 2 cups every morning. The first cup I drink uninterrupted. The second cup, we can engage in reading or talking or whatever. Barbara knows. Coffee. Yeah, okay, and then we work. But that's just me. So you do it the way you want, but the idea is the first thing you do is you receive something, which is lovely, you know, to begin your day by receiving something. And that gets us going. So the second step is about the gratitude statements. It's your letter to your CSO. I want to ask you to be honest about this. How many people, since we started this 5 weeks ago, have missed a day or more? Wow, we got a few people who did not raise their hand. Congratulations to those. The rest of you, you are absolutely okay. You know, in fact, I found that, well, when I was on this two-week tour going across the United States doing these town hall meetings, that life wasn't working out exactly like we imagined. The town halls were great, but the transportation in between got a little weird. Southwest Airlines has a different way of being in the world than I'm accustomed to. I'm kind of spoiled by Delta, but we had one flight that I didn't actually get to bed until 2 a.m. on the West Coast. And so that was 5 a.m. here. And I was pretty out of it. And one cup of coffee did not do it. And so I did not write that day. And I felt a difference. And that was okay. And then we had the other experience of actually going to the airport at 5 a.m. in Newark, New Jersey. And I sat in the airport and I did my writing in my journal. And that was great. But it wasn't the perfect place to be reading and being involved in all that. And then, of course, we had that flight never went out. So we stayed in Newark another day, and we did our Atlanta town hall from Newark, which was interesting. And then we had a 4 o'clock wake-up call the next day to get out. So that one was a little hard to get done, but that's all right. You know, things happen in life. You don't let that get you down. You don't let that slow you down. You keep doing what you're supposed to do. And if it doesn't work out perfectly one day, there's nothing to blame. There's no judgment. You just do it the next day. In fact, what I found is that the couple, 3 days that I missed and couldn't do it or didn't do it, that the next day I got to do it. It was fun. It was better. I remembered. It was like, thank you. I like this. This helps. What do you want to say?
The first day I missed, because I missed about 5. You know, it's just crazy. I had one of those nights like you had, and I didn't get to write in the morning. And I started talking, while I was going through my day when I could do that. And I actually found it was more intimate. You know, like a higher connection, so it's kind of nice.
So there's no wrongness in any of this.
Right.
You know, and in fact, we're all at choice. If you don't want to do these letters, don't do them. If it doesn't work for you to do them, don't do them. The idea of these letters is for you to discipline your mind toward what you want. That's the purpose of the letters. So if it works to do it, do it. If it doesn't, then perhaps there's another path for you. But this idea that May has put forward in complete alignment with the science of mind invites you to think about what's working in your life and to use that, what's working gratitude, which is the first part of that step. You know, you begin your letter and you give thanks for today and for all the good in your life and all the wonderful things that are happening. And when you've kind of got that really rolling, it's time to move on to the things that you are calling into your life. But she says, write them as though they're already true. So you've created this standard of, I'm giving thanks for this that I've already got. Right now, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you hardly even see it seamless into having the things that you're calling into your life. I am also grateful for this. And this is as real to me right now as the thing is that I can touch and feel and taste and smell. It's as real because I'm claiming it at that level. So it's not an accident that she's asking us to do it both ways and to do it in that order. To do it with what's already real in your life. And if you get up any morning and say, I've got nothing to be thankful for, go back to bed. Because it's not going to be the kind of day you want. You know, so you do that gratitude, you're immersed in it, and then you move into this that you're claiming into your life. Yes, Jen? Hi.
For me, is that if I don't get to, for whatever reason, not do it in the morning, I could do it at night, and I don't feel any less connected to my CSO. Matter of fact, I feel more connected because if I find myself in the days of like, it's just like working right, then I just can't be real as far as I'm concerned. You know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
So when I do it at night, or whenever I can, you know, I just feel, I still feel connected. It's like I haven't missed anything, you know, I'm still in alignment with my gratitude with my CSO, and
I hear you. You're saying that if you, okay, but let's kind of go through this. So you're saying that, no. You're saying that you feel a sense of connection to your CSO when you state your gratitude at night. Are you doing both parts? Are you doing what you have and what you're calling into your life? And are you seeing results from that?
Yeah.
Then you're fine.
Okay.
That's right. Because the point of this is to get the outcome you're looking for. The point of it isn't to march in step with everything that someone says. The point is to get the results you're looking for. So you're demonstrating for us that someone could do this in the evening. Are you doing any other kind of spiritual practice in the morning?
Oh, yes.
What do you do in the morning?
I do my meditation. I still do the CSO when I'm not off.
Okay, sometimes you do it in the morning too. Okay, so you could do...
But I'm saying that sometimes when it's like if I wake up late and I'm late to work and stuff like that.
Okay,
I'm
all right.
just focused on that, you know. But I don't want to feel that if I don't get it, and more as the book says, that I'm still not having no connection with my CSO.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, screw that. I'm still going to have my, I'm going to do it like this.
Okay. I gotta say, if that's working for you, I absolutely support you.
Thank you.
There you go. You have my permission to do it that way. As long as you're getting the results, I'm with you.
I get my results.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So I want to ask you, what are you using to write this stuff? Where are you writing your letter?
My journal.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. That's great. There was a conversation early on about how much to write. I want you to come share what you're doing, and let's do it right in here, about how your writing experience is going. Okay?
This is what I get for going up to John's office and being like, I want to tell you something. So I write a lot. Like, I write like 2 to 3 pages like this. And it didn't start that way. It started as like half a page or a page. But I write every single little thing that comes to my mind. I mean, I get up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's such a beautiful, thank you for the way the mist is coming through the tree. Like, it starts like that. And, you know, thank you for how I slept. Just every little thing I write, every attribute I want to express, every, the car that I want and what I want to feel like, and just everything. And like little things that I didn't even really know I want. Like a few weeks ago, I said, oh, I'm so grateful for my wardrobe and for all of the beautiful clothes that I get to wear. And then I just forget about it. Like most everything, I'm not focused on creating, but I write all of it. And what I found is that little things, like the wardrobe thing, I wrote that in passing one day. It wasn't, I love my clothes. Like it was more of a grateful for what I already have. I got like not a whole new wardrobe, but I got to go spend like a couple $100 on clothes this past weekend, and I saved a couple $100. And then when I got home, I was like, oh, I wrote about that like 3 weeks ago and had forgotten, and little tiny things like that, like the job stuff, like writing that I'm grateful that my boss appreciates my ideas, and then all of a sudden there's this bonus for these idea creations, and like stuff that I'm like just now starting to put together. But I write every single little thing that comes to my mind, and it takes a really long time, and I haven't gotten as much sleep as I used to. But it's worth it to me, so that's what's working for me.
And it is working.
Yes.
Thank you. That was great. And that's the kind of point I wanted to make here, is that, you know, we can set all these rules for how you do this, but the point is, what do you get out of what you're doing? And if you're getting the result, then it's worth it. And again, this is a discipline. This is about directing our attention on the things that we have that are really working, and then bridging that into the things that we're calling into our lives. And that emotional experience of writing that and feeling that is what is creating this in our lives. It's that discipline. So whether you do it at night or you do it in the morning, if you do it, you're planting those seeds for outcome. And that's what's important. Yes?
I find that doing something physical to remind you, because I'm kind of hard-headed, as soon as my feet hit the floor, I go, be grateful. I don't care if the house is on fire for the bears. I don't care what I'm doing, be grateful. It just, that thing just puts me in the mindset of all of the things, whoosh, right there, be grateful. And then
so you made a connection between your feet touching the floor and the idea of gratitude.
It's basically the same thing you go.
That's brilliant. So, well, yeah, I'll bet. So you have that momentary experience of being grateful, and what happens inside in your mind and your body?
No matter what's going on, I instantly settle and calm. I go to that calm, and all of the things that be grateful for this and this. And
so you start down the list.
And it's like a computer program that runs.
Are you still sitting on the edge of the bed when you're going through these thoughts? Or are you up and moving?
As soon as my feet hit the floor, and then when I stand up, I go, I'm worthy. And I do this power stance like this, like apes do it. People that have been blind from birth do that. It's that power stance. It's also a peace sign, but it's like that. And that focus is that doing a physical thing along with it.
Yeah.
Really just brings it in. It focuses it like, and it's like full memory of the experiences you experienced just with that. Boom. You know.
Very nice.
It just helps me focus.
Well, yeah, you've integrated the physical experience with the thought.
In other words, I need to quit giving you crap about not writing a letter.
Not everybody's going to write. You know, it's just not. It's not natural for some people. In fact, that's the thing I wanted to really bring out tonight. Is she's given us a system that works for her, and she teaches it to her students, and they get it however they get it. But we can all benefit from remembering to do the essence of this, which is, at this point, is gratitude. The other piece that we started with, step 1, is inspiration. Step 2 is gratitude. So if you're finding ways to be inspired and you do it consistently, then you're on a pattern and you're creating that.
Well, and then I go on to write the letter and be specific. And
sure, absolutely. But that's a really important thing. If you can tie it into your physicality, then you're guaranteed, especially if that's something you do every day, that you're going to have that thought and make that connection. That's how our minds work. They're signaled by certain actions, you know. So that's a great story. Thank you, Drew. That's wonderful. Before we go on to the third step, this whole idea of writing this letter and doing this, to me, in the early stages, it was a little hokey for me because I had this idea that I know the presence of the divine is right where I am. And I almost, as I look back on that, I was being a little bit over formal, I think, with that. And what this has done for me is it's kind of brought a little more gentleness into this process. You know, I once heard who was Ram Dass. That's what it is. Ram Dass talk about the words thank you, and he would say, "Who is you?" You know, if you're saying thank you to the divine, and with May, I go, you could take that kind of a place and say, you know, this isn't pure metaphysics if you're speaking to some entity. You know, that's akin to talking to an outside God. And what I've done is, this has really helped me soften around that and realize it really doesn't matter. You know, the idea isn't the principle behind it. The idea is to get the things in your life that you want. So, I mean, some of us, maybe even in this room, maybe some of May's students elsewhere, fall into the old trap of an outside God that may or may not do something. But I think she's clear enough in the book that we should all remember that even though we're identifying this thing called this chief spiritual officer, that the highest reality is that our thinking is what is creating this. And that if we are in a state of gratitude, then we are lifting that up. Whatever it is we're grateful for, we're lifting that up in our lives. And that's what's important. Yes, Emily?
You know, 20 odd years ago, keeping a gratitude journal revolutionized, changed completely my life. And for probably about a year or two, I kept it up, writing it down, and then, you know, then I got lazy.
Life.
Yeah, and I thought, well, you know, as long as I'm thinking and saying thank you along the way, along the day, then, I'm still being grateful. But what I find in doing this practice is that it's reconnected me to, that I perceive it and I feel it and I live it in a whole different way when I sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and I write down. And my mornings start off so sweet and so full. I'm usually in tears because I am so grateful. And I was telling Belinda earlier today that I was moved almost to send a message to Barbara, thanking her and you for the teachings, because it has just, once again, just revolutionized my world in another way. And part of this is this book and the course, and again, getting me back into writing down on a piece of paper all the things that I so love about my life and that I feel so grateful for about my life. So it's, you know, part, for me, that's prosperity. You know?
It is.
Yeah, it's great having money to deal with and to spend and to have and, you know, waste or throw away or give away or whatever. But for me, that sense of prosperity is about how I feel about myself and my life. And
Very
that's what
nice.
we're supposed to do.
Thank you. Thank you. April, what do you want to say?
I was doing the CSO letter really kind of wrote and just kind of going through my letter, and throughout my day I would realize there was something else I needed to be grateful for or wanted to be grateful for, and I would write it down even though it wasn't in my journal. And I started, what this has done for me more than anything else is give me a better connection with my husband.
Really? A better connection with your husband? That's wonderful.
I take every morning after I do the CSO letter, I go and look at him and tell him how grateful I am for him.
Wow. Did y'all hear that? Every day. That's good. And my guess is he's more grateful for you now. Yeah, isn't that lovely? Good for you. Thank you. Josie.
I started this whole CSO letter really earlier than anyone else. And somewhere along the way, I realized that I'm not naming just CSO anymore. I name it CSOU myself. That's the name of it, which is you dash myself. So I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to myself because we are one, and it just came as a revelation for me that it is me.
Yeah.
God as me. I'm not talking out to God anymore.
Good for you. That's brilliant. Thank you.
So in Hinduism, they have all these multiple deities that people think they worship different gods, but actually they believe in oneness, and they have these different faces of the divine to help our finite mind be able to relate to something that's infinite. And so that's the way I look at it, is it's just a way to help my finite minds.
Sure, and Mae McCarthy is a businesswoman. Since she was in her teens, she's been in business. So the idea that she would want to name this thing a chief officer of any sort, you know, just fits into her framework, her way of being in the world. So this is another point. If you end up calling it something other than a CSO, it doesn't change anything. It still works. So that's the clever name she came up with. It makes for a good book, a new way to do it. Barbara and I are having fun with CSO, but if you want to call it something else, that's fine. You know, if you want to call it your higher power, that's fine. If you want to call it the God within you, that's fine. However you want to relate to it, that's fine. Just don't give it power over you. Recognize that it is consistent because you are consistent. Yes, Breezy.
I've always, you know, I think it's 3 or 4. You've got spiritual, emotional, physical. Is there a 4th one?
Mental.
Mental.
I've always just looked at myself as having those aspects, and I talk to myself a lot, because I live by myself. And so, you know, referring to it as that she's, you know, that's just a name she gave it, but I've always, if I'm having issues with something, one thing or another, that tends to be what I focus on, so it's either the spiritual, mental, physical, or, what was the other one? Emotional. So, you know, it's already incorporated, because you're talking to yourself, basically.
You are, but what you're doing is you're talking to a higher level of consciousness within yourself. Yes. Yes. What's your name?
My name's Sherry.
Sherry.
I've had a little bit of a struggle because, you know, my initial kind of introduction to this way of thought was through The Secret. And recently I started listening to The Secret again, kind of helped inspire me. And there's this one part that really touched me, which was this part that says that once you decide that you want to ask for something, you ask for it, and then you assume you're going to get it. If you rent a house, you put down your money, then you get it. You don't keep asking, can I rent your house, can I rent your house, can I rent your house? And so I thought that was brilliant. And sometimes when I write my letter, I'm like, I am still grateful. I did a great job. I am still having. But and it gets to feel like not quite real, and I don't know, it feels like I'm.
This is a great point, and Rick, you'll be next week, but let's go ahead and stay with this, because this is key to this process. That we seem to want to rely on the demonstration to be inspired.
Right.
It's natural. It's human nature. You know, this is what I'm doing what you said. Now, where's my stuff? Right? And when I get my stuff, I'll be inspired. I'll stand up and do the happy dance and all those things. The thing about that doesn't work, though, is you can't rely on the demonstration. The demonstration is based on your ability to be in that demonstration. It's like you're building it around you in consciousness. You're knowing it's there before you can see it. And your clarity is the thing that this takes and reflects back to you. You're doing nothing wrong. It's perfectly natural. So what I'm going to ask of you is be unnatural. Say it every day, but you have to do more than say it. And in a while, after the break, we're going to talk about some other ways beyond saying it. Because, you know, and I think the biggest thing we get out of the law of attraction and all the other ways of looking at this is people go, oh, you can't just say it and get it. I mean, there's this whole sense of people in the world that's ridiculous. You can't just say it's so and it's so. But it's more than just saying it. There's something more to do, and we're going to go into some of that here after the break. So that's a great point, and I really wanted to go there. The question I was going to ask that you have begun to answer is, are you having any trouble trusting the process? Yeah, especially if it hasn't manifested. Now, if it does manifest, you go, whoa, yay, baby, I got this. And then there's the next one, you know? And will it happen again? Oh, it happened once, will it happen again? You know, so those doubts, they're just part of our nature. And so I forbid you to be in any way thinking you're not doing this fine. You are. Let's look at more ways to do it, more dimensions to bring to it, and see what happens. Rick, what do you want to say?
But it helped for me, quite some time back, I was listening to Abraham. And you mentioned that the vibrations of appreciation is about the same as love. And the words thank you and gratitude, it does, it gets around that we were talking a while ago about something else out there. Appreciation is a feeling. And that's what I use when I'm writing in my letters. And I've gotten to, like my electric bill, and then I've gotten conscious to where I turn on a light, go on the computer, and I appreciate, that light. I appreciate being able to go online. And that it's that feeling, I can feel it in my chest.
So what you're doing is you're moving from simply writing gratitude to actually making that part of your essence, that you're grateful for things that you normally, most people take for granted. So that's the discipline you're building. In fact, that's a discipline we're all building, is to move into a higher state of gratitude for everything in our lives, because the things we're grateful for come to us easier. They flow, they break through into physical form that we can see in a more vibrant way when we're in that state. And I gotta tell you, for most people in the world, being in that state is not a natural state. The natural state is, what's not working? How can I fix it? What am I going to do? That's the natural state of the human condition. We're moving into an entirely different way of being in the human experience. That's why this isn't so easy all the time. It takes work. What do you want to say?
I met somebody in a 12-step program one time that talked about how every day he thought about how he could be of service. And he was coming from that gratitude place where he was living that so completely that his whole focus was how was he going to give to the world through the day. And I've never been able to achieve that. I mean, I'm not remotely there yet, but I can still remember the sincerity with which he said it.
Very nice. And that's something we all can do. And I would, without even knowing who this person is, I'd be willing to bet that he had a healthy, loving, wonderful life. That he wasn't struggling with his finances or his way of being in the world. That his focus of giving meant that life gave to him on a regular and ongoing basis. Yeah, that's how it works. It's time for a break. Let's take 10 and come back. Thank you.
Push the red record button. Juan. Got it. Never mind, Juan. Oh, you have a question? Yes. Which day? The 19th. You've got to have the class to be a member, but you can take the class a different time. You know, we have them every 3 or 4 months, depending on how good we are at getting on top of our calendar. But also, you could ask for support in knowing that your schedule opens up and that you can make it, since we are creating our experience and anything is possible. So we are always in our perfect and right place doing what it is we need to do. So that's what I wanted to say. Unless, of course, I'm hearing anything in this room. Am I hearing anything? Is there anything that I'm hearing?
Yes!
All right. No, it's not already. I thought maybe I heard some musical notes.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Barbara. Happy birthday to you.
Ask what you want when you want it.
There we go. There's always a good model for us. This process is working for me. And I just thought for fun I would read you today's letter. This is what I wrote. 24 August 2015. Happy Monday, CSO. Today's the day I return to our Path of Wellness class. I'm so grateful to be teaching prosperity again. This is going to be a wonderful class where people deepen their commitment to living a prosperous life. I'm grateful to have so much good in my life. Barbara, the center, this beautiful home, meaningful work, and so much more. I'm grateful to have such a bright future as I turn 62 next week. I'm a good teacher, and I'm ready to expand my horizons by taking what I know to a larger audience. I know that something wonderful is emerging in my life. My call to Brian Biro will be revealing today. I am so grateful to have this amazing life. It's all good. It's all God. John. So if you don't know who Brian Biro is, it's Carol's husband. Brian is a world-class motivational speaker. He travels all over the world doing symposia and presenting his work to the world. He actually, in his career, was a vice president with Anthony Robbins' organization. So he plays at that level. And I hold him in high esteem for what he does. And I did not have an appointment with him when I wrote my letter this morning. I did know that he was in town, but that he was leaving pretty quickly. And here's what that's about for me. With my change that seems to be happening in my work with CSL, I will no longer be president. It's very likely come February. In fact, there's a vote in October that will determine if that's the direction we're going. All indications are that's what's going to happen. And part of that arrangement is that there won't be a president. It's not that they're getting rid of me, they're getting rid of the position. And so much of what has been my responsibility goes to different people. Some goes to the spiritual leader. Before it was, the president was the internal voice of the organization, the spiritual leader was the external voice. Now the spiritual leader with this new arrangement will be the voice of the organization. The executive director, which at this point the president supervises 3 director positions, but that's all being brought down into one. And that executive director will not answer to the president because there won't be one. They will answer to the board of trustees, which is called a leadership council, a term that I actually coined. And so that's the work of the executive director. The chair of the leadership council takes on the strategic plan as their responsibility. Now we've already got a strategic plan because I spent 2 years doing that. But it's done and now it just needs to be maintained. So the chair will have that responsibility. What's left of the work of the president is all of the connections with the centers and the ministers and the practitioners. All of the councils and commissions. All of the work which we call ecclesiastics. And some people say, well, that's an old-fashioned word. We don't want to use it anymore. But it's still an accurate word. Everything that has to do with ministry, with bringing our message to the world through our organization is still on the table. So we're creating a new position out of this design. It doesn't have an official name yet because the name that we came up with temporarily it has had some pushback. So we're going to figure out what the name is. That'll be on the same initiative or the same resolution in October. But the fact is that whatever this position is, it's part-time. And my salary will be with that come February when it's actually the final vote happens when we go to Salt Lake City. My income will be reduced by $48,000. I know. Well, you could say that's a lot of money. And my idea is that I still have a lot to bring to the world. And I can't say that Centers for Spiritual Living is my source, because it's not. So this is not, one could look at that and say, well, that's unfortunate. But what I'm seeing, and what I said on the phone with Brian this morning, is that this is an opportunity to do something bigger, to do something that touches more lives, to do something that makes a real difference beyond being president of Centers for Spiritual Living. So I'm going to embrace this. So I called Brian. He did not answer the phone. I got his recording, but I think it took him 3 minutes to call me back. And I told him the story that I just shared with you. And I said, I want you to show me how I can move into doing other kinds of public speaking, where I can bring a message of this fantastic thing we call life to people in a way that maybe they haven't heard it before. And he got pumped. And he says, I'm with you. And we started looking at where we could do it. He's leaving town Wednesday morning. He wanted to meet tomorrow. Tomorrow's Barbara's birthday. And I'm going to honor my wife and spend a day with her. All right? So we couldn't do it. We didn't fit today. It was too tight. Tomorrow, it's Barbara's birthday. And he's off on Wednesday. He said, how about Monday, next Monday? And actually, next Monday works lovely in my schedule. So he said, how about 9 o'clock? I said, great. I said, you want me to be at your house at 9 o'clock? He said, no, I'm coming to you. Now, Brian's a busy guy. He's got a lot going on in his life, but he was willing to set that into his schedule and not have me come over to him, but for him to come to me. I mean, what an honor. And I believe that little things like that, by writing in my letter, my gratitude, that this is going to be something really important, makes it really important, and the universe responds in kind. So I will not accept that what's happening in my life is any way diminishing me. In fact, it's giving me an opportunity to do something wonderful. So first Sunday in October, Nancy came to me today and asked me for my talk. I said, Barbara's giving the talk next Sunday. She said, no, I mean the week after, because we're doing the postcard. Oh, great. What am I doing? So it came to me when I was sitting in Barbara's office about 5 minutes later. My talk is Infinite Possibilities. Because that's what we have. So make this real for you. Make this real that you do this, however you do it, whenever you do it. Do it. Make it real. Use this to claim your good and let the universe respond in kind. I don't care whether you call it a CSO, but do the work. Do the work, and this thing's going to come through for you. So I'm not done with this. We've only done 2 of the 7 steps so far tonight. I want to do the rest. So let's go through these and get a sense of what we're doing. Step number 3 is speak your gratitude as you read your letter out loud with emotion. How many of you are doing that by yourself? By yourself in the morning? Most of you. Do you find value in actually saying it out loud, even though you're the only one in the room? Yes. Okay, good, good. I'm kind of hooked on having Barbara there with me when I do it. But I can do it by myself. And I'm such an extrovert, just saying it out loud really does help me. So please remember to do it out loud and listen to what you're saying. There's some element of that, of actually saying it out loud and hearing it. It makes it more real for you. So stay with the idea of reading it after you write it. Yes, Sandy?
Becca and I will go back and forth with what we're grateful for and challenge each other.
Nice. All right, so you've got made it into a little game. That's fun. Good, good, good. Lynn, what do you got?
I'm reading it in the mirror.
Ooh, that's nice. Reading it in the mirror. So as you're reading, you look up into the mirror and see yourself. You're really, oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. Try it. So I want to spend a little time here. Yes, share.
How you say, get into the feeling, know it, live it, read it.
Yes.
So at night before I go to sleep, I go over my letter, so it's cash.
Okay.
In the morning I get up and I'm working on the house. And sometimes it's kind of like a shock. I'm so sure I'm in my house when I get up, I don't know where I am because it's not. So does that
I like it.
to what I'm doing?
Just keep doing it. You're doing it beautifully. That's lovely. If you actually have the moment of you're thinking you're in the house that you are envisioning in your work, that's powerful. Stay with it. Stay with it. Good for you. Edwin Gaines tells a story about a guy that wanted a piano. He was a pianist, but he didn't have a piano. And he couldn't afford a piano with his money at that time. But he claimed it to create a space in his living room where the piano set. He set a doily there with something on it that would sit on the piano. And when people would come in, he would point to the piano, imaginary piano, and say, isn't this wonderful? And it didn't take long of doing this that his aunt called and said, I know you love to play the piano, and I've got this beautiful baby grand, and with my arthritis, I can't play anymore. You want it? He said, well, arrange it right now. I mean, there's no accident. There's no accident to that. So be in your house. Good for you. Good for you. I want to spend time on this 4th one, which is imagine the experience of having the good that you desire. This is critical. This is where you move beyond the words. This is where you're doing the work that Liz is talking about there. And I thought this might be a good place to talk about this idea of denials. I will confess to you, I am not a denier. It's just not in my DNA. It's not in my psyche to point to something and say that's not real. It works for a lot of people though. I mean, remember the first night we did class, I talked about this idea that they're in neuro-linguistic programming, that was the second day of class, that some people move naturally toward what they want, other people really are just do this naturally. They try to move away from what they don't want. Drives me nuts, especially in counseling sessions, because someone will know everything about what they don't want, but they're not focused on the thing that they do want. By itself, denials are dysfunctional. They don't work by themselves because the focus of your attention is the thing you don't want. So why would maybe teaching us to do denials, why would she consider that an effective thing to do? First of all, some people just want to do that. They want to see the thing and claim they don't have that in their life anymore. They want to do gratitude statements that something is gone, that something doesn't exist anymore. The thing is, though, and if you do that, she says it works. Holmes said it worked. Lots of people say it works. So who am I to say it doesn't? Okay, but it doesn't work if you don't follow it immediately with moving toward the thing that you do want. If you don't have that, you're creating a void, and it will refill with that thing immediately. So you'll be running in circles, not getting anywhere if you focus on what you don't want and stop.
It gives you what you focus on.
It does. It gives you what you focus on. So in most cases, I believe trying to deny something and stopping there means you're going to get more of the thing you don't want. And does anybody here wants more of the thing they don't want? All right. So, and the thing about not wanting something is it usually comes with a lot of emotions. You know? Mike, I've watched you be so emotional about not wanting to smoke. You know? It's just a natural thing. I'm not making you wrong. I'm saying people who move away from stuff, that feels so right to just say, get this out of my life. But it doesn't, by itself, it doesn't work. So you've got to, if you're going to make that, and Barbara gave me one of the best clues on how to do this years ago when I was complaining about denials. She said, yeah, but if somebody says, no, that's not so, this is.
Yes.
Yeah.
You hear it? You get it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you do it that way, and then put equal or more energy into the thing that you want, then what you're doing is you're kicking the thing you don't want and embracing the thing you do. And there is something to that. So I will not tell you not to do denials. But I will continue to say it doesn't work for me. But if you see that this works, make sure that you're putting the greater emphasis on the thing that you do want. And don't go into a denial without knowing exactly what you want to replace it with. That's important, because it will backfire on you. You're playing, honestly, to me, you're playing with psychic poison to do denials. But sometimes poisons work. You know, so go ahead. If that works for you, how many of you have something in your life that you would really like to get rid of? Okay, so there you are. You got stuff going on that you'd like to get rid of. Go ahead and pop it with a denial, but be absolutely sure that you follow that up with a real sense of what it is you do want, and feel that one deeply. Yes?
John, in my opinion, just an opinion, if you say instead of denial, I let this go from my life, and I believe this in, then a denial is something what we resist into, but when you let it go, you already release it.
So for the recording in the back, I'm going to paraphrase what you're saying is, rather than saying this is not so in my life, you're saying that you're letting it go. And that you're replacing it with what the thing that you do want. Tony Robbins taught me a way to do that, a phrase that I have used many times that is exactly what you're saying. I no longer indulge in the debilitating act of, and mine was self-criticism. I no longer indulge in the debilitating act of self-criticism. Instead, and then I say what does work for me. And that's to be loving of who I am, to know who I am, and to live in that knowing in everything that I do. You know, so that's the thing that you're suggesting.
Because the letting go is create a space, a void, and if you're feeling that immediately that you really want,
right.
Then it's happening.
So play with your denials, but be clear that you don't let that have any power in your life. but you're letting it go. It's gone. And that your focus is on the thing that you're replacing it with. Because there is this wonderful thing that if you create a void in your life, it must be filled. It will not stay empty. So if you empty, fill it quickly with an idea. Yes, sir?
That letter you were talking about, she was talking about, is when you dwell on that negative, do that negative thing, give it so much power and so much energy in your head and so much space in your head. When you deny it and do what you're talking about, it gives it, it makes it very small.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, she's talking about letting it go, having it go away, and you can actually visualize it getting smaller. That's an NLP idea of actually seeing it go farther away from you.
And then give it that big, well, here's the problem I don't want, make it smaller. Now here's my solution to what I don't want.
This is where I'm focusing my attention. Because that's what you want. It's so hard to get away from what you don't want. But it is very productive to focus on what you do want. Because what you end up focusing on is what you're going to get. Okay, that's it on denials. So how do you do this? Imagine the experience of having the good that you desire. Anybody have any keen ideas on things that have made this imagining work for you?
To me, it's a lot easier than writing and imagining is much easier than writing.
Sure, because you're doing it in your imagination.
Yeah.
You're actually envisioning it and engaged in it being real. So I want to play with an idea with you tonight. Dimensionalizing. You don't know that word? I made it up. So what does it mean? Visualizing. You know what visualizing is. You close your eyes and you see something as being in your imagination. You envision it. You see it. Great. Seeing something is great. It's a very powerful thing. It's probably one of the most powerful things we can do is envision. But what I'm thinking is, let's go further than that. Let's not, visualizing to me is like watching a movie. It's really two-dimensional. It's sort of flat, we're observing it. Let's go further than that. Let's actually create some dimension to this thing. Let's not only see it. There it is.
Smell it, taste it.
Yeah, we're going to see it. And we're going to hear it. And we're going to smell it. And we're going to touch it. And maybe we're going to taste it. Maybe there's something to taste. So in your work, can you see how this would bring a total dimension to it? It couldn't just be something you're observing in 2 dimensions. It has to be 3-dimensional. If you can take it down to here, because you can watch a movie and see it and hear it. But if you can smell something, if you can touch something, and that's a feeling, absolutely. If you can feel it, if you can be engaged in it, then it takes on a whole different level of existence. And this is imagining. So why would this be important? Because as we were talking about, you can imagine something that's pretty far away from you. Or you can imagine something right up in your face. If you want the thing, why not engage it completely? So you ask yourself, what do I see? See the thing that you want to have in your life. Not as an observer, but be in the middle of it. So that you look around. Literally look around and see what's there when this condition that you want is in your life. What's there? What do you see? And what do you hear? If you're envisioning a Hawaiian vacation, you're going to hear some crashing waves. You're going to hear them. You're going to envision yourself going out into the water. You're going to feel the temperature of the water. You're going to feel it lapping on your legs or as you go deeper, it being all around you. You're going to turn around and look at the hotel or the mountain or whatever is there close by, the palm trees. You're going to make this a multi-dimensional experience. And if you can smell something, smell it. You can smell the air, or you can smell the flowers, whatever it is that you're experiencing. And then if you want to, and you know, Barbara and I got hooked on a TV show a few years ago. It was a pretty rough TV show. It's called The Sopranos. And I've always been fascinated why that was one of the most popular and successful television shows in history. And one of it was is that they always had food.
Yeah.
They always had food. We're always eating. That's what we do, we eat. It made it real. So if you have something in your life that you're calling in, and you can attach the smells and tastes of food to that experience, how could life resist this from you? So that's what I'm asking you to do, is deepen this experience that you're having with the thing you're calling into your life. Different elements of it. Have it show up in these ways. And maybe there's other ways. Maybe there's something else.
I think for me, what I find is when I start taking an action in the direction, that makes all the difference. If I don't take an action, I guess I have resistance.
Mm-hmm. You're not talking about in visualization, you're talking about you claim something in your life and you have to do something to move toward it.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. And but let's do this one, and then we'll do that one. Okay, because I absolutely agree with you. So the idea here is don't just limit yourself to seeing what you want, engage it. Be fully immersed in it. And let it be that real, like Liz's house. That you may even have some moments of confusion as to whether it's here. And that's okay. That's a good place to go. Yes, Deborah?
That's the writing out the schedule, you know, for the vacant slots.
Right.
Two of the things we've been talking about. One is create a vacuum, because it demonstrated to me what I wanted it to look like, you know. And the other thing is that it shows the schedule, you know, because I blocked out the spaces, it shows it in full. And it's easier then to imagine names in there, and names have people.
Okay.
So putting stuff on paper and that practice of, you know, writing fake checks, make-believe checks and watching the.
So we're getting into the doing that we're talking about here. So let's go ahead and go there.
That's kind of a gap.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
close the
And
gap.
that is an idea. You can write a check. If you'll notice over here on this board, you've heard a bit about us paying our mortgages, right?
Yes.
You know, we have over here our statements from Wells Fargo, and all three of them here say paid in full on them. And the balance that's shown here is 0. Yes, we forged these. For the absolute purpose of having people come and saying, wow, it's paid off. Isn't that great? And the more of that we do, the more we'll get this thing paid off. And we're making good progress on that. Yes, beloved.
If you write it down and act it out, like make lines for other people to do, like if me and my mom do a 2-person play, basically, it will really help you get it in your mind.
Exactly. Exactly. Anything that you can do along those lines as well. Yes, Andy?
Treat, move your feet.
Treat, move your feet. So here's my favorite story on that very thing. Barbara and I used to go up to sit at a shaman's home up at the base of Mount Mitchell. His name was Will Rockinger. And we went up every Thursday for years. And he lived in this a very interesting house that was completely heated by wood fire. He had I had one wood fire in one main room. In the other room where we actually sat in circle, he had a small fire burning stove. And then he had, I don't know, he didn't have one back in the bedroom. How he slept back there, I had no idea. But he did. Anyway, in the main room where we met, where we would sit in circle, he wanted a new stove. Not new, he wanted a different stove, a bigger stove. Mama Bear, if you know those kinds of things. And he said, he told us in the circle, well, I want to have a Mama Bear stove here. And Barbara and I jumped on it quietly. We didn't say anything. But we had this plan, we're going to find a stove. So we started looking at the Iwana and looking, and we'd find stuff, and it wasn't right, it wasn't right, it wasn't right. And it took us several weeks. She found a stove out in Canton. It needed to be cleaned up, it needed to be prepared. And we went and paid for it, paid them to fix it up and to deliver it to the lot. We think we're very clever. Rocky Bear's sitting up at the lodge going, where's my stove? And he said, I've got to do something here, something more than I've done. And it goes back to that, ask for what you want when you want it. So he decided to go into the Burnsville newspaper, they got a little weekly up there, and buy an ad saying that he's looking for a mama bear and that he will pay this much. And he ran his ad. It was that afternoon that the stove showed up. It was the one that we had ready for him. It showed up, they installed it, he received it graciously, and when he told the story after that, he was so clear in his mind that going and putting that ad in the paper is what allowed that stove to show up. Now I could say, no, it would have shown up anyway. Maybe, or maybe that's exactly what it took for that stove to get all the way up there, to not fall off the side of the truck down the mountain, or some other craziness, because those things happen in life. So you could say, no, it's just a coincidence, but I don't think so. He was very clear that the reason that stove was there was that he took action toward that stove. It was not someone answering the ad that he put in. That was irrelevant. It was the fact that he took the action. So do I think that we should take action on things? Absolutely. I think just claiming something into your life and sitting back on your butt waiting for it to show up is not an effective thing. That you must get up and do something to bring it to you. You must take action. Your words have power, but your actions also have power. Ellie.
I would qualify that with inspired action. Because there have been times where I've wanted to manifest something, and there's that fear in me that if I don't do something, it won't come about.
That's nice.
So
Inspired
I'll
action.
create something to do, which in the end is spinning my wheels because it really doesn't manifest.
And May talks about that all over this book. Right, she talks about how it's our tendency to want to micromanage, and that it's hard to let go of that. But there's this delicate balance that if we just say it's so, and sit there and wait for it to be so, that we're not fully engaged. And we don't have to, here's the trick, is don't ever think that it's your action that's going to be the thing that's going to bring it to you. That's a limiting thought. But by taking action, you're demonstrating to yourself and your CSO that you really want this. That you're really into the idea of creating this into your life. So often the things that happen don't line up. It doesn't look like it fits together at all. But it does, because I say this is what I want, I claim it into my life, I give thanks for it, and I take some action. I make a call. I write a letter. I do something. And that keeps me engaged in the process. And it likely is that however that thing's going to show up has nothing to do with the actions you took, but the actions you took kept the thing engaged in your psyche. Yes?
If this doesn't fit in this segment, you can just let me know, but there's something I really want to understand. A couple of weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago, I was out in my yard, mowing my yard, thinking I'm doing such a great job, not that gas thing, this is a workout, and I had been doing it since the beginning of the summer, and I just, it worked my ass, and I just said, I don't want to do this anymore. And right after that I said, I want someone to cut my grass and to do it for a reasonable price. And there was this feeling that I got that was so clear, right? I didn't have to think about it anymore. I knew it was already done. And 2 weeks later, a friend suggested, why don't you call so-and-so? And this guy comes, and he gives me a quote of $10 less than what was considered to be the lowest amount anybody would do it, right?
Yeah.
But the thing was, I knew it was going to be done. I didn't have to imagine it. I didn't have to play with it anymore. I didn't have to write about it because I knew it was going to be done because of that feeling. Now I want to understand how I can repeat in so much in a particular moment where I know I don't have to think about this anymore because it's already done. It's already, the loop is coming down. And then there's other things like, that I'm working on with the CSO letter that I'm working on every day. And it seems as if that the visualization and the writing and the talking it aloud is actually working about taking away levels of resistance or levels of my own sense of, oh, it's not gonna happen, oh, I'm scared it's not gonna happen, oh, I don't really want it to happen, oh, when is it gonna happen? You know, all of those layers to be able to get to that clear moment of knowing, I don't have to ask for this anymore because it's done.
Well, that's what you did with the lawn mowing. You were done.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that anymore. It's not going to do it. Right? I mean, you were so clear. Right? That was not yours to do anymore. Someone else was going to do that, and it was going to work out for you in exactly a way that would serve you. I think you'd already done your work in that regard, because you'd mowed the grass again and again and again, and you got to a place where you said, not doing that anymore. God, I'm going to have somebody else do this. And your clarity in that moment of your body saying, you don't want to do it either. You know, there was totally unanimity and absoluteness in that statement. So you didn't have to do any more work. I think many of the things in our lives, though, we're willing to keep the ball rolling and keep doing what we got to do, that we think we've got to do, and that creates resistance to actually moving forward with the solution that we're claiming. So I think that as you told that story, that was my perception, is that the idea of doing the lawn, not one more time am I doing this. And that opened up the way that someone showed up to do it for a decent price that you could afford and everything fit together. If we were up against a wall, I think most of us, when we're up against a wall and we have no idea how to do this, we somehow surrender to something within us that allows it to come forward. Let's learn how to do it without having to be up against the wall. You know, that's the work. We don't need to get to that place anymore. We can say, this is what I'm claiming in my life. This is how it's going to be, with absolute certainty, and that's what happens. And we go, of course, that's all they could have. Lynn.
So what I'm doing for the imagining part is mixing it up. I'm doing meditation, I'm doing treasure mapping on a specific thing, like the treasure map I did was my physicality, it was like my body, it was my health, and I just did it on one thing. I'm not mixing it up. It was very specific, and you know, just sitting there and cutting out the pictures and pasting them and then writing on there, you know, I am a perfectly healthy Latino woman, you know, empowering you on your perfect and right path, and so I'm doing that, doing the imagining, treasure mapping, so I'm mixing it up, but I'm definitely, oh, and then I have a book, like for my Live, Work, Play Retreat Center, I have books, I have pictures of houses, and then I'll sit there and just look at my pictures, you know, over and over again, so I'm dedicating that time. And I have had, you know, I've had a dream about my physicality as far as my knees, where I saw in the dream, I mean, I saw my knees like pop out, and I was like, it's done. Like, I saw it healing, and I was with two other people, and I was like, can you see this? Can you see what's going on? And I saw a swirl and, you know, all their other crazy stuff, but I mean, I know that, you know, the diagnosis that they gave me for my knees is it's done, it's healed.
And it is?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Yes, Drew.
It seems to me, I appreciate it. When you, this is training. This is training because we've all done similar things, been negative, and ooh, that was a coincidence, not really. We all know that. This is training, and what you would experience, you rode the bicycle without the training wheels on for a moment, you know?
Yeah.
So you get to a point where you don't have to use those tools, they're already in your toolkit, and you just have.
There it is.
And it's just, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So let's get to where we use our tools. And that's the work here. And anybody who's in that position knows that you've got to train to be able to play the sport, to do the thing that you're training to do, whether it's martial arts or tennis or swimming or anything else. You got the way you get good at it is by doing it, and that's what we're doing. We're setting this, and May says do it for 30 days. We're doing it for longer than 30 days. And the idea is that once it's impressed upon our psyche, it's there forever, and we'll keep doing it. So whatever you're doing to make this work, We'll go over the last 3 next week and finish this up and look at what else May has to share with us. And, but I think for tonight we've done our work. What do you think? Good work, guys. I hand this back to you, Dr. Birthday Girl.
I think we should put that in Wikipedia tonight.
What a good edit.
That makes it worse.
Deanne, when you say is so, it's a word
It
now.
makes it worse. Hashtag it makes it worse.
John, that's another book. That's a whole book.
So are you getting what is happening to you? You know, it's really important that we learn how to master the world of effects so that we can live a life that is in alignment with our spiritual nature of happiness and joy and prosperity. But it's more important that we master the inner state of our being. And that's what you're learning here. Just to give you a little reality check, next week is the last week of this class. And so in your demonstrations, demonstrate now. Demonstrate now. And come to class with stories up the wazoo, that is the holy wazoo, to be able to share and say, I have manifested in my world. I know I am a master creator in my life. And then we have 1 week that is nothing's happening here on Monday night. And then after that, we start our regular yearly classes, and we're starting off on September 13th, I think it is, with Original Science of Mind a la Barbara Waterhouse. And we're going to talk about the way that Ernest Holmes intended Science of Mind to be taught. We're going to use the Original Science of Mind textbook, the 1926 one. There is one in a free download off our website. It is my favorite of Ernest Holmes' books because he presents it in a way that you can get it. He has lessons. Lesson 1, Lesson 2, Lesson 3. It's not that complicated. You get 3 lessons. It'll take us until Christmas to figure it out. One of my favorite quotes of him is the introduction to Lesson 2, the very first paragraph, the first line. He says, mental science, or the science of mind and spirit, makes a tremendous claim when it states that it can free the individual from the bondage of illness, poverty, and unhappiness. But it makes that statement without reservation and without qualification. It has never backed down from that, and it never will. That we say that if you get your head wrapped on straight, doesn't matter who you are, but you can be free of illness, poverty, and unhappiness. And that's what we're doing. And so we use money as a way to say, hello, pay attention. And we all go, oh, money, yes, I'm paying attention. But really it's the transformation inside of us that carries us through to the rest of our lives. And that transformation is by us choosing our state and choosing what we think and choosing what we say. So I want you to get ready in terms of get your money out. Get your money out. A lot of you put your money in these baskets already. When you come to class, don't wait till the last second to say, oh, we're dealing with money. No, no. Bring your checks already printed out. Use your envelopes. Get it together because we are setting spiritual law in motion. And so I've got to ask you, are you ready? Yes! Are you ready to be free of the bondage of illness, poverty, and unhappiness? Yes! Are you ready to reach out into thin air and grab whatever you want? Yes! Are you ready to feel the support of the entire universe? Yes! Are you ready to know who you are? Yes! Are you ready to be that person? Yes! We're going to do our treatment for increased income together aloud. I know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have abundance No.